The first pro regarding the 2025 Toyota Sequoia Capstone, it's going to encompass multiple things regarding the drive. The drive is just superb here. Everything from placing this vehicle out on the road, the ease of drive, the effortless thrust and power that you get from this iForce Max powertrain, all of this is top tier and really well executed. This drivetrain, right? We have the Hybrid Max. That is the only powertrain that you can get with the Sequoia. You can't just get the regular twin turbo V6 like you can with the Tundra. So this Hybrid Max, it produces 437 horsepower and 583 pounds-feet of torque. Acceleration, it's fantastic. When Car and Driver did a 0 to 60 run in this, they got a time of 5.6 seconds. That is quite brisk for an SUV weighing in at 6,000 pounds. And 6,000 pounds is actually not a bad weight figure considering the fact this is the 4x4, it's fully loaded, and it's got that hybrid battery pack. Competing products like the Tahoes and the Expeditions, when you get those well equipped, they're going to be about 5,800 pounds as well. The previous generation Sequoia with just the V8, the fully loaded Platinum trim with 4x4 was around 6,000 pounds as well. Toyota did a pretty good job managing the weight here. But more importantly, back to the performance of the Hybrid Max. Yes, the power is great. Yes, it's brisk. But more importantly, everything is smooth to respond here. The transmission, the engine, everything just works together seamlessly. Even at the slower speeds, we don't have any real unrefined characteristics going on here. And being that this is the Capstone, this is the top tier trim level for this SUV, this is the only trim level to get the double pane glass on the front side windows here. That means this is essentially the quietest Sequoia that you can get. And it's true, we don't have a ridiculous amount of wind noise or tire noise here. The bit of wind noise that you get, it's slight and it's rather well contained. The Capstone also comes with the largest wheels at 22 inches, yet the ride quality, it is sublime. It is just floating over these bumps effortlessly. The vehicle actually pulls off a truly luxurious driving quality. Now, once again, I'm testing the Capstone here. I can't really comment on the lower trim levels of the Sequoia. Perhaps they will not feel quite as good and as luxurious as this. And I bring this up because with a lot of car manufacturers, I've noticed that the higher you go up in trim, the more refined and the more substantial the vehicle ends up feeling. This is definitely true for the Toyota Lexus brand. And I will no longer say that getting smaller wheels is going to help with the ride quality. I've noticed this with a lot of brands. You go up in trim, you get the bigger wheels, the vehicle ends up riding phenomenally well. And this is no exception. The steering is on point. It's light, but not too light, if that makes sense. You can easily whip this SUV around, much like its competitors, the Tahoe and the Expedition. Those are also rather easy SUVs to drive despite the size. So this pulls off a rather similar trait. Handling is also really good. You know, in these long sweeping corners, you have plenty of confidence. Even out on the highway doing pretty high speeds, the stability is pretty good. Your everyday left-hand, right-hand turns, when you take them, your occupants are not flipping and flopping all over the place. The rigidity of this chassis is excellent. That's a huge improvement compared to the previous generation Toyota truck platform vehicles. The first pro, it encompasses many attributes regarding the drive. There are some cons driving this SUV. Number one, it's going to be the front visibility. It's a bit hindered due to this A-pillar design. I would say that is the only real annoyance driving this big SUV. Competitors like the Tahoe and the Expedition, they manage this A-pillar much better. But the actual inputs of driving is excellent, like the steering and actually placing this. But another con that I have to mention is this Hybrid Max powertrain. It really defeats its own purpose and it doesn't really make much sense on paper. Like, one of the cons with this Hybrid Max, it's going to be the fuel economy. It's rated to get 19 city, 22 highway, again, for these 4x4 models. Yet I don't really get that. I'm getting closer to like 15 city, 20 out on the highway, something along those lines, which is pretty much near as makes no difference V8 levels of fuel economy, like the previous generation Sequoia V8 fuel economy. That's essentially what we're getting here. The only pro regarding that is at least this Hybrid Max is able to take regular fuel. That's huge, according to Toyota's own official spec sheet. But we don't have the same level of reliability as the previous generation. naturally aspirated V8, but we have about the same real world fuel economy and all of the additional weight that comes with having a battery pack. Yes, they did a good job managing this weight, but there is another con associated to having this Hybrid Max being the only powertrain option with the Sequoia, and that is regarding the trunk space. I mean, calling the trunk a con is an understatement. What they've done with the trunk of this is quite atrocious. Okay, you buy vehicles like this, of this size and proportion, for what? For extreme levels of practicality, and this really is not delivering, especially when you compare this to something like a Tahoe, which when you look at the new Tahoe, you can immediately tell that like every square nano inch has been completely optimized for maximum practicality, like seating space, trunk capacity, everything has been well thought out. You can feel that with the Tahoe, and even the Expedition is pretty well done. Like, you can fit in all 3 rows comfortably, and you can haul all of your things in the trunk as well. Here, due to the Hybrid Max battery pack, we have a really compromised trunk. So the 3rd row, it's always going to serve as this rather high bump in the trunk area, and Toyota came up with like this shelf design. You have like this little flimsy shelf that you can put into various different locations, so you can technically get quote unquote flat load space with the 3rd row intact, but then you have like this 1 foot gap underneath, and that's fine. Like, you can kind of put things underneath that gap. Here's the thing, now you really have to lift up your items rather high to fit it into that trunk area. You can make it work, but here's the thing, the vehicle is supposed to be working with you, not against you, right? You can finagle this to work and to be practical, but there are still compromises regarding the trunk. With that 3rd row down, there's a big gap between the 3rd row and the 2nd row. So if you stomp on the brakes, your items can just fall through that gap. And really, it's all because of the Hybrid Max battery pack. So if this truck was just available with the twin turbo V6, we would most likely have a more practical trunk with less weight, maybe even better real world fuel economy, who knows, and even better handling than what we already have here. So a lot of not so great decisions, especially in a class where, you know, your competitors have really thought of everything, right? Both Ford and Chevy. And if you're wondering about that little plastic shelf that Toyota is giving us for the trunk area, apparently they say that little shelf can handle up to like 225 pounds, which is interesting considering the fact that the shelf, it just sits on a plastic trim piece that's not even bolted down. It's just hanging onto some clips. So that's just something else to think about. Let's move on from that. The other big pro regarding the Sequoia is the rest of the interior. This is unlike the Tundra. This is a very solid cabin space, which is crazy to me because it's the exact same cabin as the Tundra, yet the materials feel better. It feels more solid and well put together. Being that this is the Capstone, we get these lovely semi-aniline leather seats. This is the only trim level to get the semi-aniline seats. Not even the 1794 gets this. And the seating comfort is excellent. We even have some really nice details here, like semi-aniline leather grab handles. Little touches like that really elevate the cabin. We have an excellent JBL audio system here. That sounds great. I love the technology, this large screen. It looks good. It's easy to use. We have the wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. All of that works seamlessly. We have these separate buttons and switches for the HVAC. Huge pro there. Plus we have the heated and cooled seats. We have a great 360 camera. I love the graphics on that. The digital gauge cluster here, it's a bit easier to use than some other Toyota products I've tried. And you have plenty of space throughout this cabin. Like the door pockets, they offer plenty of space for large bottles. Same thing with the center console. You have the wireless charging pad. You have a massive center console area here. And once again, this center console actually feels solid, unlike the Tundra. This doesn't feel like a completely chintzy, cheap toy. Everything about the Sequoia interior has a more robust quality about it. I'll take it though. Once again, the glove box is pretty good, and the overall occupancy space is excellent. So although the trunk is compromised, the occupant space for the first, second, and third rows are all excellent. Like, I am 5'11". I can actually fit in the 3rd row of this vehicle. And keep in mind, you can actually easily slide that 3rd row forward and back to give you more or less trunk space as well, but also to give you more legroom in the 3rd row. I don't even have to have the 3rd row set all the way back. I can still somewhat comfortably sit in that 3rd row, which is really impressive. That means children can easily sit back there. And due to the width, you can genuinely fit 3 people in that 3rd row as well. Also, getting in and out of this Sequoia isn't really a problem due to the electronic side steps that come out for this capstone. But keep in mind, one subtle con regarding that side step is if it's raining out and the side steps get wet, it can be a bit slippery. And the next pro that I wanted to mention regarding the Sequoia is actually the safety. So we know that the Toyota Tundra is a IIHS top safety pick, so we can pretty much assume that this Sequoia is going to be really excellent in a crash test as well. In fact, the Tundra is essentially one of the safest new trucks that you can buy today. That's a big improvement compared to the previous generation Toyota products. And another pro that we can mention is the capability of the Sequoia. These SUVs, they can tow over 9,000 pounds, a little over 9,500 for the SR5 rear-wheel drive models. That is truly excellent. However, keep in mind the Expedition isn't far off either. That can also tow over 9,000 pounds. But regarding the payload capacity, don't expect full-size pickup truck levels of payload. These three-row SUVs are a bit compromised regarding the payload capacity. For instance, on this Sequoia, the payload, it ranges between 1,300 to about 1,700 pounds. That's about the same for the Expedition as well. And the Tahoe has slightly higher payload capacity, but the overall towing capacity of the Tahoe is a bit less than the Expedition and the Sequoia. So just a couple of things that you want to keep in mind there regarding towing and payload, but overall I am going to say that the Sequoia is a rather capable SUV regarding the towing capacity. And finally, since you made it to the end of this video, I do have a resource that I can share with you if you are interested in purchasing these SUVs and you want to save some money. So I am personally partnered with one of the largest Toyota brokers in the country. He's located in both Pennsylvania and in California. He's able to offer nationwide shipping, and he's got about $4,000 to $5,000 off the MSRP on in-stock Sequoias. So although we have some compromises to deal with here, at least there are some good savings. The best value in the Sequoia lineup, it's easily going to be the SR5. Add in the premium package and either the TRD Sport or the TRD Off-Road trim levels, and you're going to be around $70,000 to $73,000. So you have a great looking SUV, and with the discounts I mentioned, you're getting decent value for money if you're able to make this vehicle work for you and your family. Jim does charge a broker fee to access these deals. He did say that if you text him and you mention my name, Meyn Motor Group, he can take some money off of his broker fee. So I appreciate him doing that for my audience. His information will be down below. Also, you can check out my website, meynmotorgroup.com. It's officially live. You can go there to save money on new vehicles as well. You can also pay to book a consultation call with me if you want help finding a vehicle for you and your family. So all of the links will be down below. If you found value with this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.